All right, today we are diving deep into a moment that literally reshaped the internet and our economy as we know it, the dot-com crash. We're talking about a time of insane optimism, some truly spectacular failures, and, some hard-won lessons that are still super relevant today. Let's get right into it.
So, you think the buzz around AI right now is intense? Well, let me tell you, what was happening at the turn of the millennium was on a whole other level. The dot-com craze was this absolute frenzy, a modern-day gold rush where just having .com in your company's name felt like a license to print money. But as we'll see, that illusion was about to come crashing down.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the boom and the digital gold rush. Then, we'll watch it all come apart in When the Bubble Burst. After that, we'll survey the damage and the fallout and aftermath, understand the perfect economic storm that made everything worse, and finally, listen for the echoes of history that we can still hear today.
Okay, let's paint a picture. It's the late 1990s. The internet is just exploding into everyone's lives, and it really felt like this brand new frontier with just limitless potential. There was this infectious belief that this technology was going to change absolutely everything, and investors were terrified of being left behind.
This right here, this quote just gets to the absolute heart of the mania. The excitement was so off the charts that the old school rules of investing, they were just tossed right out the window. The whole idea was, hey, this is a new economy. It was all about eyeballs and user growth, not profits. It didn't even matter if you had a real product or a plan to make money. The idea, the potential, the hype, that's all that mattered.
So, how did this bubble get so enormous? Well, you can think of it like a recipe for a total disaster, with 3 key ingredients. First, you had just massive speculative investment. We're talking billions of dollars chasing ideas that were sometimes literally sketched on a napkin. That led to ingredient number 2, these sky-high valuations that were completely disconnected from reality. And finally, you had a flood of IPOs, initial public offerings, where startups rushed to go public and cash in on the hype before anyone could ask the tough questions.
Of course, a party that's fueled by nothing but speculation, well, it just can't last forever. What goes up must come down. The cash started to dry up, and the market slowly began to realize that, potential doesn't actually pay the bills. A reckoning was coming.
You have to understand this one key concept from the era, the burn rate. This was the number everyone cared about. Companies weren't judged on their profits, no. They were celebrated for how fast they could burn through their investors' money on things like crazy marketing campaigns and huge office parties. Profitability? Oh, that was a problem for tomorrow. The thing is, for so many of these companies, tomorrow just never arrived.
And when the mood changed, man, it changed fast. It all started with this one simple realization dawning on everyone. These valuations, they make 0 sense. That realization just shattered confidence across the whole tech sector. And once that fear took over, it triggered a massive panicked sell-off. Suddenly, everyone was stampeding for the exits all at the same time.
And this is the result. The sheer scale of the collapse was just staggering. The NASDAQ, that's the tech-heavy stock index that was the heart of the whole dot-com boom, lost 78% of its value between its peak in March 2000 and its low point in October 2002. Trillions of dollars in wealth, just gone.
Now, this crash wasn't just about numbers on a screen. It had absolutely devastating real-world consequences for companies, for their employees, and for millions of regular people who had bet their life savings on this digital dream.
The fallout was just brutal. Companies that were household names one day were completely bankrupt the next. This led to massive layoffs all across the tech industry. Investors from big Wall Street firms to everyday folks with a 401k just watched their money get wiped out. But, out of those ashes, a really crucial lesson was finally learned. It led to a brand new focus, building real, sustainable businesses that could actually turn a profit.
All this turmoil also dragged some other really big problems out into the light. It wasn't just about bad business models. Major corporate scandals were breaking, which totally shattered public trust. This led to a huge regulatory response, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It was basically a law designed to make sure executives couldn't lie about their company's finances and to hold them personally accountable if they did.
Now, what made the dot-com crash so much worse was that it didn't happen in a vacuum. It actually collided with 2 other massive national crises, turning what was already a bad situation into a catastrophic perfect storm for the entire U.S. economy.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. Just as the market was reeling from the bubble bursting, the 9/11 attacks delivered this profound shock to the country and to the economy.
Then, just a few months after that, the Enron scandal broke wide open, revealing this massive corporate fraud and just destroying what little trust investors had left.
So it really wasn't just one thing. It was a perfect storm. The collision of a market crash, a national tragedy, and a crisis of corporate integrity sent investor confidence into an absolute nosedive, and it dragged out the economic pain for years to come.
Okay, so as devastating as the dot-com crash was, it actually wasn't the first time we've seen something like this happen. To really get it, we need to zoom out and place it in the larger context of market history.
If you look at the other big crashes of the 20th century, you start to see a clear pattern. The core similarity is always a speculative bubble that's just fueled by euphoria and hype. But what makes the dot-com crash kind of unique is that it was driven by this new, world-changing technology and supercharged by globalization. And just like after the crash of 1929, it led to major new regulations to try and stop it from ever happening again.
So, what's the ultimate lesson from all this? Well, the dot-com crash was a really painful but powerful teacher. It was a stark reminder that hype is not a business model. It showed just how fast the market's mood can swing from greed to fear. And maybe most importantly, it hammered home that timeless lesson. Sound fundamentals, things like profits and sustainable growth, they always matter in the end.
And that brings us right back to today. We're in the middle of another huge technology boom, this one driven by artificial intelligence and all sorts of other new frontiers. The excitement is everywhere, and the money is flowing like crazy. So the question we have to leave you with is this. Have we actually learned the lessons from the ghosts of the dot-com crash, or is history just waiting to repeat itself?